So, short and to the point, thank you all so much for 500 subscribers. I know my community is unusually slow, but we made it here, so that's great. And I haven't done a dinosaur-based video in a long time, so why not do a special one, but invite the whole animal kingdom to celebrate their size. A lot of people tend to think that extinct animals are larger than their modern counterparts. As you'll soon find out, this inference is not true. There are a multitude of animals that we are blessed to see in our time that take the title of largest in their group. I will explore in this video over 100 animals in the animal kingdom, alive and extinct, and that take the titles of tallest, heaviest, longest, and occasionally we're going to roast the most overrated. So inflators and the soul behind its own existence learn a little bit of a lesson. And I will not be including humans for biggest brains, as you know, or largest amount, best at destroying stuff, etc. To our credit, however, a human being is responsible for the making behind this organization. I mean, look, gorillas don't put each other in custody for lying, cheating, stealing, or tolerating those who do. Anyway, let's get started. Let's go over the group no one seems to remember in a clastistic discussion before we forget ourselves. Amphibians. These animals are classified by having semi-aquatic tendencies, the ability to breathe through their skin, and those who lay eggs in the water. We got two groups to go over, so a simple start. Africa's a nice place to begin with. It seems to have quite a bit of large animals, as well as the largest frog species. Both of them. The Goliath frog is currently the largest frog species alive today, as well as in the world. These large amphibians can grow up to 14 inches in length and weigh up to 7 pounds. They are endangered due to habitat destruction, food marketing, or strangely enough, the pet trade. That's more to say than its cousin, and second, Beelzebufo ampinga, or as we know it, the devil toad. Though not the largest of the hopping hunks of slime, this toad takes its title as the largest of its own and has been speculated to chew up baby dinosaurs. This is consistent as the larger predators in the area didn't even surpass 3 tons, much less the smaller one's offspring. The most recent studies place this animal at around 9.1 inches in length and weighing up to 7 pounds. Pound for pound, it is larger than the Goliath frog, but for this time, lengths will keep the scales. Salamanders have literally nothing for themselves in the present day, at least the Chinese giant salamander does, that is. This animal's top sizes are measured at around 6 feet in length and up to 130 pounds. It pales in comparison to its prehistoric counterparts, however. The Guinness Book of World Records recognizes Pliosaurus as the largest amphibian and by proxy salamander to ever exist. Do not be deceived by its appearance, it is an amphibian, along with its more dubious cousin, Platyposaurus, under by just 3 feet. Honorable mentions include the Mastodonsaurus, for actual largest salamander thing, and Megaherpeton, smallest of its group despite being around 20 feet in length. Turn away if you don't like creeping animals. You've been warned. Spiders. Simple, simple, simple. The heaviest in this group is none other than the Goliath tarantula, which can weigh an astonishing 175 grams and is the size of a dinner plate. Like its name suggests, it could eat birds. However, mantises today have been seen doing this as well. Perhaps eating rats or snakes is a little bit more impressive, but it does not take the title of largest leg span. That goes to the giant huntsman spider. It is much lighter than the former, but can grow up to 30 centimeters in diameter. Despite what some may think, spiders and tarantulas differ in their respective ways through the number of spinnerets on their abdomen. Tarantulas are ground dwellers and therefore need less webs, much less to even support their own body weight. They have 2, while spiders have 6. Regardless, these 2 factions of the group of spiders are just 2 different animals in the natural order of today and are creatures to be respected, not feared. Their distant cousins, the scorpions, however, get much bigger. The emperor scorpion is big, but not exactly the largest scorpion today, and are kept as pets. Despite their large size, their venom is not any worse than that of a bee's. The giant forest scorpion doesn't have much to boast about its own, except being the largest scorpion today at 9 inches long and weighing up to 56 grams. So, that means one could argue that the largest must be just kidding. The largest arthropod to ever exist lurks not beneath our feet, but in the waters below. Helicopterus renaniae, a gigantic animal that inhabited prehistoric marshes and swamps, topping in at an impressive 8.5 feet in length. However, because of its build, it was able to walk on land for a short period of time, so I guess it takes title for largest land scorpion as well. Good luck sleeping tonight. Jellyfish are easy to cover. The undisputed ruler of this class is the lion's mane jellyfish, and is a monstrous animal that rivals the blue whale itself in size, growing up to 120 feet in length. Just the tentacles, that is. Despite its large size, its venom is harmless, and the animal itself is of passive nature. However, the multitude of tentacles means that any form of contact with its stingers should be seen by medics. Cephalopods, however, are still a subject of debate. Although we know that neither modern specimen hogs the glory, the giant squid is the longest, topping out at 13 meters in length, and is a rare sight in the deep ocean. Despite being 10 feet longer, it is less than 3 times the mass of the colossal squid, a distantly related species that prefers the colder waters of the Antarctic. This heavyweight comes in at 1,500 pounds, while its ancient relative, Tusoteuthis, pales in comparison to either. However, it is commonly regarded as the largest prehistoric squid, and I'm not the usual to say this, but due to lack of other species being reported to rival its crown, it will take it for now. Let's move on to land for a bit. A rough change, but we'll go for bovines. The largest is still bison latifrons, a large relative of the American bison that was 8 feet tall and 15 feet long. These stats are nothing compared to its mass, coming in at 2 tons, heavier than some dinosaurs. A large and more modern take on cattle mounts the wreath of honor on Arroches, or Bos prigmegenius, I don't know how you say it, an extinct species of bovine that died out in 1627. It was 6 feet tall and weighed 1,500 kilograms. Largest up today, however, is just as fat as its equally weird name, gar, not to be confused with gar, a species of plants. It is shorter than Arroches, but was still about the same weight in large male specimens. This cow is native to southern and southeast Asia. Xenarthans are some of the weirdest and most diverse group of mammals, with the largest being topped out by the famous giant sloths. Megatherium is regarded as the largest of these, which is a respectable opinion, as it still was around 20 feet long and weighed 4.4 tons. That title, however, belongs to Eremotherium, which was of the same length, but is reported as the largest sloth at 5 whole tons. Well, what can I say? Jurassic sure didn't like that one. Now we move on to another weird name, but is still recognizable by appearance, the cervids. Megaloceros is the reported one to dominate this category, with a surely impressive set of antlers that are 11 feet across. Tied with it are the Alaskan moose, with a not as impressive set of headgear, but heavier, 1,800 pounds for large males. Now, despite all the hype, especially for the former, the largest in this category is taken by the two Servalces species, Servalces latifrons and Servalces scotti. The latter wasn't as heavy as the moose, but was taller, while the massive C. latifrons measured in at 8 feet at the shoulders. Its antlers weren't as large as Megalocerus's, but it was heavier than it and the moose combined, 2,600 pounds of pure venison. Prehistoric animals that shared an ecological role similar to that of deer are none other than the duck-billed hadrosaurs. These are usually depicted as fodder in media, but oh yeah, circle of life, carnivores, herbivore eat grass. Except you saying that a pack of hawks taking down the likes of a hippo are not at all likely. And the biggest of these, Dzungariotherium, pushes in to prove that. It grew up to 54 feet in length and weighed in at 16 metric tons. This hulking hadrosaur lived alongside some of the most dangerous predators to ever exist, Big Tarbosaurus and the unnamed Megaraptoran AMG 8500. Will either makes a list? I don't know. But what is objective is that Sachicasaurus is undisputably one of the largest dinosaurs to ever exist that was not a sauropod. Heaviest is up for debate, but we'll get there. Speaking of size, the more reclusive Hypsibemia snatches the spot for overall longest, beating out its cousin by 3 feet in length and weighing 11 tons at only 75% of maximum potential this animal can grow. Magnopolia backs up its distant cousin at a respectable 8.8 tons in mass and 41 feet in length. This hadrosaur is far more reclusive than the two formers, per se, but is still one of the largest animals found in California, rivaling Pliosaurus in overall size. Just another living testament to prove that raptors are nothing more than fodder. Speaking of fodder depictions, ceratopsians tend to be another overlooked category in this regard. The biggest and one of the oldest is the marvelous Agathaumus hahajinx. Well, because of its obscurity, this dinosaur's size estimates have remained unchanged, staying at a large 17 tons in body mass and growing to 49 feet in length. Both estimates are unlikely, but it would still have been one of the largest of its kind hanging around. Honorable mentions taking up this tier are Triceratops, a so-called predecessor to its namesake, charging onto the stage at 30 feet in length and weighing 11 tons. The true challenger of the Tyrannosaurus. Unlike our first victim we pick on, the Triceratops, he who we speak takes the title here as most overrated in this category. Though being the same length as the former, it was a ton lighter. Both Triceratops species will be added to the Hall of Shame, as each of them have their respective nerdy backer-uppers. Speaking of nerds, a more positive note is Penzaceratops, who takes the largest head in the animal kingdom at a whole 3 meters in length. For land animals, that is. But Thyreophorines are anything but so. These animals, specialized more in weaponry, descended to the defensive department, common traits being armored tails and backs. As we know of today, Sachicasaurus is the largest of them at a steady size of 30 feet in length and weighing 7.4 metric tons. Its validity is disputed due to limited remains, so if it does happen to be Marigaya, then it'll also take the title of longest neck. As for Hypsirophus, we don't have any confirmed or even third-party size estimates, although it was noted to have larger dorsals than Stegosaurus per se. Its base is also up there, so we can't safely quantify any size estimates as well. But again, Ankylosaurus will be here to follow the trikes into the Hall of Shame. I mean, guys, come on. A 4-ton animal breaking the legs of a tyrant lizard with no backup fossil evidence. Although larger individuals could reach 8 tons, that still does not dismiss the fact it was stupid to begin with. Speaking of large herbivores, we now enter the rhinoceros, hoofed animals with large protruding horns. The biggest alive today is the southern white rhino, or Rhinoceros simum, has been claimed but not verified, estimates of weighing at 4,500 kilograms, enough to put a dent in any big cat or a medium-sized theropod. However, overall largest, yeah, I think we all saw this coming. Paraceratherium is the largest rhino to ever exist and the tallest land mammal. Being 15 feet at the shoulder and 24 feet in length, this animal is nearly unrivaled in size among herbivores at around 11 to 20 tons, although lower ends of 15 are more likely. Despite its appearance, this guy was still within the rhino family, but had a niche similar to that of the giraffe. Paraceratherium thrived in areas around India and Pakistan, and was so big that no predators in this time would dare take down an adult. But competition? Not for food. Size. Among proboscideans, Paleoloxodon nametag takes the title of heaviest land mammal, coming in at 18 tons. Bigger than any of its kind dead or alive today, this beast was a truly mammoth among mammoths, with a partial tusk being measured at a whopping 12 feet in length. This animal, like the former champion of its group, was one of the largest in its environment, and would practically dominate its ecology and rival herbivores as an adult. But remember, folks, size isn't everything, and a game's only as good as its hunter, so let's get into the largest carnivorous mammals to ever stalk these beasts. The largest relative of your pet dog to ever exist was only distantly related to any other canid. Right now, Archeon haydeni, which grew up to 7.9 feet in length, then weighed up to 170 kilograms. This animal had jaws specifically adapted to crunch bone, and due to its purpose, had a more lion-shaped skull rather than that of your typical wolf. It was the largest canine to ever live on the planet, and that probably isn't the distantly related Amphicheon, who had a whopping 27 species under its belt, the largest being Amphicheon inches, that surpassed Amphicheon in size and dwarfed it in mass. But hey, if modern dogs have the same case, then it's worth a mention. Because of their lifestyle, however, cats grew to be much bigger, and are growing to be, and will be bigger than any dog we will ever find. Despite all the hype, our blessed souls are still fortunate to see the largest big cat around to ever roam the earth, the Siberian tiger, for now at least. This animal can grow up to a staggering 380 kilograms via dubious sources, with some even placing it at over 400. Tigers of this kind had puffier hair from living in cold climates, surely not the same for the American lion, who comes in at second place. Unlike the tiger, ironically, its size estimates are more consistent, coming in at 370 kilograms and a length of 2.5 meters. This means that Smilodon sure had some stiff competition on its hands, and any grim sight for mammoth. Early humans, beware. Ursids would have lived in the same area, but filled out different niches from felids or canids. The short-faced bear, or Archeosaurus, is by far the largest bear to ever exist. Its main feature that places up here is none other than its mass, weighing up to 950 kilograms at a maximum, and any local animal would be unfortunate to hear that it had one of the most widespread ranges of any mammal of its time, not like the largest modern bear, and the tallest of all time being the polar bear, which inhabits the cold northern part of our planet and is strangely an adept swimmer. The harsh nature of its area may be a reason for its decline, with the average of 1 out of 2 cubs surviving till adulthood. It being even taller than the prehistoric bear is just a testament to how robust the latter actually was, or being taller for the polar bear. But no land predator matches the voracity of our next group. These animals gave rise before the Ice Age and grew up to enormous sizes and took on hellish features that even the largest of these bears would turn and run from. The killer pigs. The largest, being topped out by Daedon Shoshinensis, the skull alone of this animal was 1 meter long and it was 6 feet tall. Its entire body length was around 10 feet and weighed up to 1,000 kilograms. That's a prized pound of bacon, if you can even get it and it doesn't eat you first. Its distant relative, Andrewsarchus, dwarfed this massive beast even still. Although it wasn't exactly a suid, it still fell into the Oviraptor category and was the largest mammalian land predator to ever live, coming in around 12 or so feet in length. Its weight is still up in the air, as the body base of this creature has not yet been verified. Earlier estimates placed it around 20 or so feet in length, and although our more proportionate seem to be unlikely. If it indeed was 12 feet long, it may have boiled it and held it on after all. More bacon to the fire. Speaking of pigs, no one seems to take our last mammalian group into a size challenge, as most of them are small household pets, the most famous and feared rodents. Unlike the previous group, this bacon is a lot easier to catch. Josephortergeisia monesi is the largest rodent, capybara, mara, guinea pig, whatever. It weighed around 1,500 kilogram ranges and was sported ever-growing teeth that would make Fuzzy proud, due to its close relation with the modern-day Paraceratherium, I don't know, something like that. It may have had a fuzzy long tail after all. Don't worry, it won't be spreading diseases or sneaking into your house when you're sleeping. Now, let's take a more drastic turn. Come to our first aquatic vertebrate group, the Plesiosauroids. Without wasting time, the largest in this group is none other than Albertonectes vanderveldi, rather than the overinflated Elasmosaurus or Styxosaurus, who were still big in their own right. It grew to a massive 40 feet in length and weighed around 5 or so tons, having a neck consisting of 76 vertebrae alone. This makes it have the longest neck of any plesiosaur at around 7 meters in length. Its cousins, the Pliosaurs, were different in a lot of ways. These guys seem to grow more for build, body mass, with lots of fluctuating estimates thrown out the window, passing by through centuries, literally. But in the end here, we have 2 largest species. Sachicasaurus vitae being the bigger, nothing special in length but weighing around a whopping 17 tons in mass, 30% heavier than the biggest T-Rex ever found. His neighboring relative, Monquirasaurus boyacensis, was a little in the back at around 15 tons in mass and at a steady 11 meters long. These 2 predators take the title for largest pliosaur and would literally eat anything and everything they wanted to. As for the short-necked plesiosaurs, these do admittedly have a lack of research, but the largest is most likely Dolichorhynchops, which is around 15 feet long. I myself am a little bit confused about their sizes, so forgive me if I'm wrong. The ichthyosaurs are even more dubious, but we can confidently say that they were much bigger. People have been lied to for years that these were nothing more than squid eaters that sucked on plankton, but now we know, due to revealed dentition, that these dino world dolphins were massive meal munchers. Chonisaurus, Shastasaurus, and Himalayasaurus were all of similar size, coming in at around 80 tons for the largest of these individuals. However, all of them pale in comparison to Ichthyotitan, a newly discovered and aptly named titan that tipped the scales at over 175 tons for the largest specimen that wasn't even fully grown. They were so large that it's completely unknown what they would eat due to their metabolism. Other ichthyosaurs, dinosaurs, giant squid seems most likely to be, but no doubt that anyone unlucky enough to swim with these giants is in for some sheer thalassophobia. And we have entered the biggest and by far the largest animal we will ever introduce to this list. In order to transition to the last of the aquatic giants, let's take a dead turn first to lizards. All of them, that is. The largest extant lizard alive today is still the Komodo dragon, but is challenged in length by other large monitor lizards, but is unrivaled in mass. 150 kilograms of shark claws, venom, a bacterial bite, parthenogenesis, and as I've already explained, in one of the 2 animals on the planet to have iron-coated teeth, giving it a reddish hue. Its larger ancestor, the extinct Megalania, is the largest. No. However, let's not send them to the Hall of Shame. It's only inflated because no one knows that the next group were actually lizards too. Mosasaurus hoffmanni is contentiously raised to be the largest lizard in the world, but is more than likely so. This beast grew up to 59 feet in length and is the longest or even the most famous non-dinosaurian contemporary ever known. That is an ichthyosaur. Tylosaurus proriger and prognathodon saturator are second, both being more robust but not nearly as large. To their credit, however, they would live with much more dangerous environment than the mosasaur, living with large sharks, poking plesiosaurs, others of their kind, and most notably each other. As for Megalania, we'll give everyone's favorite childhood mega lizards a star for biggest land-dwelling lizard ever. Seeing a massive Komodo dragon about the size of a minivan walking around town is still nothing to joke about. Turtles are as simple as they are contentious, with two rivaling species being Archeon and Protostega. Both have their respective fanboys, but we won't send either to the Hall of Shame, since they are collectively the largest turtles, coming in at 12 feet in length and weighing over 3 metric tons. Snakes are just the same, except fans of everyone can agree that the largest of these animals does what they do best in their own respective ways. Vatsuki indicus of Pakistan was the longest at over 13 meters, while Titanoboa was the heaviest at 730 kilograms. Imagine seeing snakes of the sort swallowing down whole crocodiles and ancient whales. Studies show that on average, that second to spiders, snakes are the most feared animal on the planet, except we see that the serpentine organism grew on a whole other level than arthropods ever will. A similar rivalry is seen between the reticulated python and the green anaconda, the former being the longest snake of today and the latter was heaviest. Largest aquatic snake will also help trigger some thalassophobia and sea fear, being the Paleoloxodon at 40 feet long. A T-Rex-sized snake eating actual whales would be a spectacle to see, and one to fear as well. Unlike snakes, however, the largest pterosaur of all time is fiercely disputed, but has an objective answer. I asked this question on a poll a few weeks ago, and the answers still remain unchosen. Whether you guys watch too much Prehistoric Planet or some fanboy beat different YouTube video, the largest pterosaur is still Oranborghania philadelphiae at a wingspan of 43 feet length and an unknown weight. Its fragmentary remains are subject to debate, with many attempts to downsize it, but heroes from Frey and Martel keep the lights on for this massive beast. Second, however, is a little interesting to quantify, but I have my money on Thanatos Dracon due to it having the smallest wingspan of the bunch. This may seem a little counterintuitive, but all four contenders are actually of the same mass, yet the wingspan size varied. Because it had the smallest wingspan of 33 feet, it would be the most robust out of the group. The other pterosaurs being Cryodracon and the famous Quetzalcoatlus, who is second in terms of wingspan length. And now, time to add another animal to the Hall of Shame. You guessed it, Patsygopteryx. Attempts to overthrow the largest pterosaur to flash off newer knowledge are a constant, with fans themselves attempting to wash Quetzalcoatlus off the map. And with Prehistoric Planet speeding up the hype train, Patsygopteryx rose to power in a try to take the title of largest. However, it was the most robust out of the four aforementioned pterosaurs, meaning that it's packing some weight to even start to equal with others like Cryodracon. For this reason, and its inflamed number of fanboys, Patsygopteryx takes the title at the end of the Hall of Shame as most overrated prehistoric creature to ever exist. Megalosaurids, especially the Spinosaurs, have also been a contentious debate as well, but luckily most dodged to be added to the dreaded Hall of Shame. But for now, as with the case of Agathalamus, Pseudomastosaurus' size estimates are unchanged, unless we take these estimates they took for a large specimen of Spinosaurus, hence disrupting the body base. Older estimates place it around 54 feet in length, although it was most likely closer to 50 feet and around 8 tons. Laramendi in 2019 supported the idea that it would have a build more adapted for land than Spinosaurus with the typical Suchomimus-based build, meaning that our beloved and hated Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus may be a reality in the long run. As for the regular base megalosaurids, that award will go to Torvosaurus ingens, a large 6-ton predator found in Africa that surprisingly has not been formally described. Newer studies recognize it as a Carcharodontosaur, although these remains are only known from teeth. Before continuing, I'd also like to shout out to Vectispinus and Iberospinus, as both are fairly obscure dinosaurs that reach over 40 feet and 4 tons for the former. But who is most overrated? Contention is rising among Spinosaurs in this regard, but that goes to Baryonyx. I've heard a few resources declare as bigger than Suchomimus, which is just abominable in itself, but I'll take a shallow spot in the Hollow Shape for it. Ceratosaurians are another targeted group by Allosaurus fanboys among the dinosaur community, but the largest is quite also disputed as well. Lots have been arguing between the Bane Carnotaurus and the more reclusive Pionomiosaurus, but just because it wasn't famous at all. 2019 studies released seem to infer the chimeric Lametasaurus as simply a large specimen of Rajasaurus narvatensis, coming in at 3.3 tons and up to 10 meters in length. As of now, it is the largest described Ceratosaur to date, living in the prehistoric lands of India's volcanic wastelands. And I know what you're thinking. Does it beat Allosaurus? Maybe. I don't know. I'm sorry to say, Ceratosaurus fans, that most likely not. We know that Abelisaur's blunt snouts may have actually weakened its bite, with Rajasaurus being no exception. I think we'd all agree that Allosaurus live with generally more dangerous creatures as well, so an experience boost for the oppressor, as if it may seem that no horned reptile could take down this beast, but we must not forget to mention the two unnamed Abelisaurs, quoted, Titanovander kenyaensis, as well as the specimen URCR44, both of which would breach the 4-ton mark and make their way into the 35-foot long range category. But enough talk, let's stop picking on Allosaurs to discuss them as well. Ever since I sliced up a video about which of these guys was biggest, some contention grew, because some people didn't watch the whole video, or neither did you. I mean, if you skipped here to see T-Rex was the biggest, then I don't blame you, but you're really missing out on the other dinosaurs. Like what I mean, they just say that it could grow up to 50 tons and that we found a specimen that was in that league, with them just lowballing Paleoloxodon and Sachicasaurus because it could reach their necks. Okay, I'm ranting, my bad. Anyways, 2 theropods are contested for this title, with both reaching over 10 tons in mass. And no, I'm not backing down from Sauroniops hitting this mark. A study done in 2022 supports the idea that Sauroniops had a large frontal bone that was in the similar size range to that of the Giganotosaurus holotype, which at its most consistent is around 12.4 meters long and weighs around 9 tons. Giganotosaurus had a large head in proportion to its body size, as were Sauroniops, being more closely related to Acrocanthosaurus and Neocarcharia, did not. So the two having heads of the same size means Sauroniops would have a longer body than the likes of that of Giganotosaurus. You see, I found that a specific ratio for every extra foot of basal Carcharodontosaur measured equates to a mass multiplier of 1.113. This is calculated from Neocarcharia to Acrocanthosaurus. With this info, we get Sauroniops to a mass of 11.2 metric tons. And no, this is not official, but is consistent with the body type ratio, using Acrocanthosaurus as a smaller base for Sauroniops, as they share body types, and Tarlvander to Giganotosaurus, as they share body types. It is seen how niche has more to play with an animal's size than overall phylogeny, and as these 4 shared similar lifestyles with similar competition and prey, it's not far-fetched to assume that this is true. And if you don't like that, then the smallest, bare minimum estimates still put it at over 7 tons, till it's the 4th largest, to start off. Of course, none of this official, but speaking of which, one of you guys had actually noted me on a new study done on Giganotosaurus the king. Sadly, it's been debunked, but we see that the estimation for this theropod is closer to 10.6 tons. With this, Sauroniops and Giganotosaurus take the titles of largest for basal and derived Carcharodontosaurs respectively, so that's nice. And now, on to the largest and most controversial Allosauroid. What about them? Saurophaganax, or should I say Allosaurus anax? Well, this large specimen of Allosaurus the king, no. Let's put on our non-biased glasses for a moment and use logic to think like pros. Fine, the Saurophaganax specimen is a chimera. Cool. But what about the other 12, huh? Is Allosaurus Danison's favorite dinosaur? I don't know. Isaac Wilson put this guy up at 8.3 tons. And because he is a non-biased, objective, honest professional in his career, Saurophaganax takes the title of largest Allosaurian without further ado, and subsequently as the most overrated dinosaur to ever exist, and I relent to Hatzegopteryx, Allosaurus fragilis. I am so sorry. Warriors Jimadzeni and Europaeus fall into the despicable name of different lizard. Different, that is. I will not go further. It loses to Tormosaurus. It loses to Seax. It loses to Tyrannosaurus Rex. It was not 43 feet long or 6 tons in mass. It could not jump a larger theropod. It could not kill Argentinosaurus. And is not Saurophaganax. I mean, come on guys, we all can do better. Tyrannosaurus the king himself is also a matter of contention, but my take is that it is more underrated than it is overrated. T-Rex doesn't need to be the biggest theropod in order to win any battle, as it had supreme agility compared to other theropods of its size to adapt to taking down certain animals, from being from a line of agile dinosaurs, that is. While say something like Spinosaurus turned like a boat, literally. And let's not forget about the crunching bite force that reached up to 57,000 newtons of force. We even know that this dinosaur scales to this, as Stan is a character who literally had his neck broken by another Rex and walked it off. Although some note that this is more of an endurance feat than durability, but still impressive nonetheless. And most importantly, this animal's size. No, not E.D. Cope, a new giant found that surpasses every megatheropod we know of today. Goliath, donating to the Rex 13 feet at the hip, 13 meters of terror long, and 12.9 tons of mass. However, despite his head sticking high, he's still dwarfed by his cousin in this regard. Monquirasaurus takes the title for largest megaraptorant and by proxy Tyrannosauroid. And no, I'm aware of the Neovanceroid argument. It was debunked 10 years ago. A 2025 study places it within this group, as well as a 2019 one. Regardless, this monster of monsters reach upwards of only 5 tons of 42 feet in length. Nothing special. It's when we get into height that counts. Multiple sources cite this past the 14-foot mark, or 4.3 meter range, with some even go as high as over 5 meters. And this estimate is done as an Allosauroid, not a Megaraptorid, who had proportionately shorter legs and bodies. But both it and the Tyrant King fall short of her title of longest. That goes to the ghost of Egypt, Paraceratherium, who has consistently been calculated to be longer than the formers at up to 44 feet in length. This makes it the third longest dinosaur, or theropod dinosaur on the planet. Some of you guys found stuff placing it at 7 tons or more. I don't know how valid this is, but I'll take it. And then you look around the room. What about NHMG 8500? By overall standards, it was bigger than the Paraceratherium and Steats, but doesn't align itself in any category of size, those being height, mass, or length. But it does get an honorable mention. But most overrated is still at hand. Tarbosaurus takes this with ease. It's been a while since I've seen inflation for it, probably because of speculative Tarbosaurus kind of dying out, and his disgusting 100-foot long sea monsters. Korea has a really bad habit of saying Tylosaurus was 100 feet long. I don't know, probably because they're unhappy that the biggest dinosaur is that Allosaurus victim of all things. Getting into the stranger group of theropods, the Maniraptorans, these dinosaurs were a diverse group of animals, with the largest being all relative in size. And I'm sure you can guess that Therizinosaurus itself is, of course, here, does none other than take the title of tallest for its kind. This dinosaur is more renowned for its height, which could stand at 15 feet at the head. Its claws came in at 3 feet long, although were most likely used for display rather than defense, as they were too fragile to hit something like the contemporary Dzungariotherium or Deinonychus. Speaking of which, this enigmatic theropod takes the title of largest herbivorous theropod ever, reaching upwards of 7 tons. Although its set of hands were not as impressive as the former, these may have actually been used for battle purposes, as they were sturdier than that of Therizinosaurus. As for the oviraptors, we have a tie for 2, being the more famous Gigantoraptor and its close cousin, Bebelong. Both could grow up to 26 feet in length and were around 2.2 metric tons in mass. Behind the theropod dinosaurs are the distant cousins, the crocodilians. The largest of these, again, a hot debate, but is settled by the gigantic Paraceratherium, who is ironically winded up from the smallest of these 4 groups of animals in the present day. This beast hit lengths of around 52 feet or more and weighed in at a massive 12 tons, twice the size of the largest crocodile alive today, the saltwater crocodile, who gets an award for today's largest. Speaking of saltwater, the whole division of crocodilians split off that were specifically adapted for swimming in the ocean, with Pliosaurus being the biggest of them at around the size of a great white shark. Another version of these diverse animals were the pseudocheans, large crocodiles adapted for moving on land. Phasalosuchus is by far the biggest, with it reaching sizes of 30 feet in length and weighing at around 3 tons. Another relative group of dinosaurs, or should I say our dinosaurs, the birds. The largest bird of prey is surprisingly a topic of contention, but after doing some research, it is none other than the wedge-tailed eagle of Australia, who is the largest eagle to ever fly the skies, with a wingspan reaching sizes of around 10 feet. Vultures like the bearded vulture and the Andean conure can grow even bigger, getting into the 9 to 13 foot territory. However, due to their hunting style, they're more of a pathetic type of bird of prey, although the size of the creature speaks for itself. And now, for overrated. Haast eagle. only 8-foot wingspan, although some attempt to put it at 12 feet for whatever reason, which is detestable in of itself. It was specifically designed to have a shortened wingspan to hunt through the woods. However, the 20-foot Archeon puts them all to shame. No more to say. Let's get into sharks for a brief moment. The largest and some of the most efficient macropredators that even predate the dinosaurs from any religious point. The Ototus class in particular brought forth the two largest sharks to ever swim the sea, with the Ototus megalodon being the bigger, at up to 60 feet in length and weighing over 70 tons. This killing machine would eat whatever, wherever, whenever, however, anywhere it wanted to. The only remnants of the large shark we have today are teeth, and due to this we cannot determine the exact body shape of the shark in its life form, although most would say it looks like a mix between a white and a bull shark. The more reclusive cousin of the Meg, Ototus chubutensis, follows it next at around 44 feet in length and over 13 meters. Out of carnivorous territory now, we finally get a shorter section, the prosauropods, and we know that the largest was a 10-ton super predator thing, whatever that is said. Meet BP 15339. Meet indeed, as not too many people out there take this dinosaur for its size. That bridges us into the last of the land animals we covered today, the sauropods. We start off with Diplodocus first, or Diplodocoids. The largest of these was none other than the lost vertebrae named Amphicoleus, a large sauropod dinosaur that was thought to grow up to 200 feet and weigh 200 tons. However, science changes, with time leading to a new dinosaur, Marapunisaurus fragilimus, taking the limelight. It is the largest dinosaur found in North America and does the popular audience a favor by putting a stomp on Allosaurus' win record. Oh yeah, forgot to mention, big shame that the dinosaur was stabbed through the crotch by a Stegosaurus tail spike. A real fossil, that is, but that's not important. What is that this dinosaur breached the 70-ton mark and grew up to a length of 35 meters. This shatters Supersaurus and Parasaurus' records for first, who were in no doubt large in their own ways. Parasaurus in particular was a measly 60 tons, but was the longest land animal to ever walk the earth at 47 meters of pure hulk. Titanosaurus seemed to go more for muscle and height rather than taking a horizontal posture. Of course, this is a contentious topic of its own, but the largest is none other than Australotitan, who did not only have robust femurs for its kind, but is stated to have an unwavering weight of 1,400 red kangaroos. But how much is this? Taking this at face value, we find that the heaviest animal to ever walk the planet came around an average of 101 metric tons. Cool, you may say. We have a new king, but he was a shorty. Paraceratherium does admittedly fall short of this at 97 tons, but grew up to an immense 37 meters in length, making it the largest land mammal or animal overall. Argentinosaurus follows this lead at an estimated 88 tons in mass and a length of 36 meters. It was more than likely taller than Brachiosaurus, but because of fragmentary remains of both, it's hard to tell. And no, it was not an Abelisaur, that's been proven. So, now on to, as it figures, the animal group I seemingly left out for last. The cetaceans. We'll start off with the baleen ones, just so I deliver a cool surprise at the end. The blue whale is no doubt the largest animal alive today, coming short of 200 tons, bigger than any sauropod, and almost as long. Do not be fooled by their large size, they swim up to 20 miles per hour in bursts of speed. But was it the largest animal to ever live? Not quite. Remember about Ichthyotitan? Paleontologist Isaac Wilson has a video on them right here. But regardless, nice to see one of our favorite whales break the boundaries of visible size in our world today. And now, the class you've all been waiting for. More than the mighty sauropods, the gigantic creepy crawlies, and even Tyrannosaurus himself. Leviathan Melville takes the title of most overrated toothed whale. That's a stun. But yes, I wanted to end this video on a happier note, so the one to wrap up the Hall of Shame will star first. I'm not going to even mention a side because of how disgraceful its fanboys are, but don't worry, I was one of those too. But remember how I said that most would say that the largest animals to ever live were all extinct? Well, that's wrong. And here's my prime example why. It's terrifying to think that one of the largest animals alive today and the third biggest whale is a monster among predators. The last on our list, the finale. As you can expect, the mighty sperm whale can shut down giant squid faster than any animal ever could, with bull males growing to a massive 79 feet in length and weighing up to 80 tons in mass. I don't think I need to go any further why Leviathan deserves its spot in the Hall of Shame, but here's some scans because I know that's not going to be enough for you. But enough said. There's more. An aspect I'd like to touch up on, and I feel like a video talking about size is a good way to convey this message, is ironically that size doesn't matter. And I'm not talking about combat situations, but it's the way us humans see size. We tend to see size as an honoring title of intimidation, or pride, and a maturity. We want our favorite animals to have these titles, or even ourselves, to be the biggest, the strongest, the most powerful. Everyone does. But upon taking a little more insight into the situation, you'll soon realize that people with much often find themselves looking for more. It's not about the physical appearance or the grandeur of one that satisfies. It's the reputation, how others see them, and personal relationships. You can get all the money and riches you want now, but in the end, you'll find yourself with nothing. It's not good to having so much when there's no one to share it with. The creatures in the Hall of Shame didn't do anything. They're just innocent animals. It's their fanboys that wanted more for them. But here's what I'll say. Be content. Content for what you have already. Be content that we get to see gigantic animals, or today in their natural world, live happily with the little much they have, or that they exist at all, and we get to see them exist. So likewise, we should be content with where our favorite animal, or really anything we own, ranks. We tend to see animals as lower life forms, but maybe, in the end, we can learn something from them. Both the titanic blue whale as well as the teeny tiny ants are both content with the life they live. Both are social animals. They live for each other, with that one life they have. Likewise, we get one of this gift. Use that life for another, because if everyone looks out for each other's interest, you will never have to watch your back again. Thank you for watching this video.